Good morning, quilty friends. This is Jackie coming at you from the Stitchin Post. And today's video is I'm going to show you how to miter corners on a quilt. I'm going to try and show you two ways, but we're going to start with one. And if we have time, we'll do a second one. Okay, so what I'm doing is out of one of our books. This is called Victoria's Garden, this quilt right here. And these are mitered corners. And turn a couple of pages here. And we're going to get to the actual pattern. So this is what the pattern looks like. And you can see where the corners are mitered, okay? So I've already attached the borders. And when you attach a border, my borders are 10.5 inches. So in order to make a mitered border, you need to have your strips at least 10.5 inches beyond the middle of the quilt, okay? So you have to have an extra 10.5 inches. I believe these are more like 12 inches. I like to have a little extra. I don't like to cut it too close. So we're going to put these little borders together, all right? I've got my center done. I'm going to lay it out on my ironing board, okay? With both of your borders flat. One border, doesn't matter which one you do. It can be this border or this border, it doesn't matter. One goes on the bottom and one goes on top. Like this, okay? Now, we're going to turn the top one under at a 45-degree angle. Okay? Just a teeny bit. Get it all on here. Now, you can kind of cheat because these two pieces should line up. It's the same size border. And that should get you started. And then they should line up on this side. Okay. I'm going to take my ruler. 45-degree angle is right here. I'm going to lay that along the seam line here, okay? And then line it up on this seam. And this end is going to go right here where the two borders came together, okay? Now, if I did this right, it should pretty close to a 45-degree angle here. It's a little, I need to pull this a little bit more here. Can you see that? It's straight here, but as I get down here, I'm just going to need to pull this in a little bit more. There, now it's right along that line. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I'm going to pull the ruler off, and then I'm going to take my iron, and I'm going to press it. Press it well. You have a nice pressed edge there. Okay, this next step, you have to be a little careful because you want to keep these lined up. So I'm going to open my border up like so and just pull this back ever so carefully. Keep it lined up. And see my edges up here? They're lined up. They're lined up here. And you can see that crease line. I tried sewing it without marking it, but I'm going to actually mark it. If I can find my marking pen. Here it is. Okay. I'm using a Sharpie. I'm not worried about it. It's black. My fabric's black. So I'm going to lay my ruler right in that little crevice where the fold line is. And I am just going to run my Sharpie along this. You don't need a really dark line. There we go. And now I'm going to pin it. Mitered corners are actually very easy. I always get a little heart palpitation when I go to do them, and it's like, oh, they're not bad at all. They're pretty easy. So I'm going to pin it in 3 or 4 places. Again, don't distort the fabric. Keep it lined up. Okay, now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. And I'm actually going to sew from the inside out. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to drop it here at the beginning of my little black line, or maybe a little bit further back if I didn't quite get. Okay, let's see if I can turn that so you can see that. I don't know if you can see that. It's in there. And I sew with my foot down. So when it stops, my foot will stop in the machine. The needle will stop inside the fabric. Okay? Now, just start sewing on that black line. Pull your little pin out as you come to it. Oh, and I didn't mention, I don't cut any of this extra fabric away at this point. I wait until I'm completely finished. because if I made a mistake, you can't put the fabric back once you cut it off. But right now I could rip everything out and not have to worry about it. Now, I'll confess that I just sewed over the pins, but I go really slow so I don't break them. I needle them. Let's go. Okay, sew off the edge. We're going to take it out of the machine and we're going to put it back on the ironing board and open it up and see if our 45-degree angle actually worked. Okay, lay it out there. So check that out. I'm pretty happy. I have a little pull here. I could go back and fix that, but I'm not going to. I might a little later, but it means I probably should have started a little further out, like one stitch out. But press it. And at this point, and I used white thread so you could see it. I might go back and use black thread in a minute. But then I would cut all of this away. I would cut that. Make sure you cut the correct side. You want to cut this side, not this side. I've done that. And now you have to go back and do regular border. But cut that off in a 1/4 inch. Okay, I'm going to show you another way. We'll see how that works out. Okay. I got to find a, here we go. Oh, there's one more on here that I need to fix. Okay. Again, you can lay out there flat. Flat, flat, flat. As flat as you can. And this time, I'm going to take both this side, and I'm going to fold it under this way at a 45-degree angle. We'll come back to that in a second. And the same thing with this one. The longest part of this, the most time-consuming, is actually getting it where it needs to be. Okay. That, I think, needs to be a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to lay those there. I'm going to actually press it. Hopefully I did it right. Okay, now we're going to take our ruler. Same thing. We want to make sure that these are both at 45-degree angles. So here's my 45-degree angle. I'm going to lay it, again, along the little edge here. But this time you have to be able to see through the ruler if you can. So there's my 45 on this side. And it looks pretty good. It's lined up really well. Okay, now we need to do the same thing on this side. So here's my 45. I'm going to lay it on this side, again lining it up with the seam, which is right there. Right up to that bump. And I can move this out of the way a little bit. All right, and there, it's pretty good. I might just leave it there like this. Okay, now I'm going to, again, press really well. And if you get a really good press crease in there, you don't have to go mark them. Because in this case, you can actually just take them and line them up. This crease right here to this crease. See that crease and this crease? Lay right on top of each other. Okay? Pin it. Now, if you wanted to and you're not sure about this, you can actually base this seam, open it up, and if you like it, go back and do a permanent stitch. Okay, I'm actually going to put a pin right here where I want to start my, I should have done that on the last one. I'm just thinking this as I go. Okay, we're going to go stick it back in the sewing machine. And this time, I have to follow that crease line, okay? I don't have a line drawn on there. You might want to draw it. You'll get to see if I actually follow in that little ditch. It's pretty hard. You should probably mark it. I mitered 2 of these corners before I started the video. One I marked, one I didn't mark. They both came out fine, but yeah, it'd probably be easier to mark it, especially if you want to come back and do this at a later date. That crease, that fold line may disappear. Pull that out. And you can still kind of see the little ditch right there. Okay. And off. Okay. Let's see how I did. This is always fun. Okay, open that up. Check it out. Oh, this one was much better. Much better. So the other one, I probably will go back and fix that a little bit. So here we go. I'm going to actually cut this one off because I'm very happy with it. All right. So to cut it off, I just lay it on my cutting table. Okay, line it up. And I'm going to use a little smaller ruler. Remember, this is what you're cutting away, not this. Again, I have done that. So I'm going to give myself a 1/4 inch seam allowance right there. Just cut it away. There we go. So now I can open this up, press it again. Oh, I love my mitered corner. Looks great. Now you can press your seam underneath open if you want. I'm just going to fold mine to the side and press it. It's going that way. Okay. But if you want to open it up, be my guest. There we go. That one's complete. So now you know 2 different ways that you can miter your corners, and both of them work just fine. Okay? So I will have a picture of this at the end of the video of the finished quilt top. Thank you, and if you enjoyed this video, like it and subscribe.